It never ends, does it? It just never ends. How you doing, Purple Valkyrie? Thanks for coming on the show with me, and thank you ahead of time. This is a true story. We did a couple hours of research this morning. I actually woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. It's a true story. I thought something was wrong, something's going on, and sure enough, I go onto YouTube. I find Kyle's video. He's recording videos at 2 o'clock in the morning, breaking the story. Cheers to you, Zach's, about a deal involving billions and billions of dollars and the works of J.R.R. Tolkien that apparently nobody knew anything about. Before we get into that, let me say thank you to Purple Valkyrie. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Yes, this is a massive story and one that we have done quite a bit of research in over the past few
Yeah.
hours, trying to get the facts straight.
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of takes and a lot of supposition. We are going to present you a lot of hard numbers and information and what this really means. What do they have access to? What does it mean for the film rights? What does it mean for the television rights? What does it mean for Amazon? What does it mean for theme parks? There's a lot to this. Okay. Supposition is wonderful, but research is even better. Just saying that. Let's bring the chat in real quick. And who do we got here today? Look at, we've got Lyle Hammett, Kayla Dare, Daniel. We got a good, tight crew here of everybody. Purple Valkyrie, what was your snap off the cuff reaction to this story today?
Honestly, I was completely blindsided by this. Now, this is a group that I was actually talking about yesterday in a completely unrelated matter. I was talking about gaming, but this is a group that I am, if not overly familiar with, I've certainly been keeping an eye on because over the
Yeah.
past probably 4 years, they have been quite aggressive with acquiring IPs.
Yeah. So, Embracer, let's go ahead. Let's get down to brass tacks first of all. People are throwing out numbers as to what this deal is, what this deal means. Chat, I'm going to drop you out. If I didn't say hello to you, I'll catch you on the flip side because we have a lot of information to cover and we don't want to be here all day. Purple, I'm going to take this article that you found if that's okay. How
Mm-hmm,
much money are
absolutely.
we really talking about? How much money are we talking about? Purple Valkyrie, I'll let you take the lead on this. And I, of course, have the translation for US dollars.
Yes, absolutely. So this comes directly from Embracer's group own website, and this is the report that they've put out this morning. So talking about the deal that went through this morning, middle of the night for a lot of people, the aggregated upfront purchase of these IPs, 5 of which have been named. One is being held back at the moment, so we don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
The entire
Mm-hmm.
purchase price is 6 billion Swedish krona, of which, as it says here, 4.2 has been paid in cash at closing, which was today. The remaining 1.3 billion is going to be paid over the next 12 months, and they have taken 500 million from the Embracer shares. So this is a enormous deal.
And this includes more than just Tolkien. This includes the other properties that they bought today, right, Purple?
Absolutely, yes. So
Okay.
they have taken quite a big, but for us, the biggest one and the one that will have the most impact is going to be Tolkien. As I said before, primarily what they bought was gaming companies. That's what they are mostly known for.
Absolutely. In addition to Tolkien, now Tolkien with an asterisk, we're getting into what that really means as far as the research that we found. Again, nobody's pulling this out of their ass. This is research. So if we get it wrong, it's the articles we're quoting and we tried to cross reference it, but no one is just making things up to fill up YouTube. So, what this really breaks down to is a deal went down today involving $4.4 billion worth of Tolkien and software companies that they paid for in cash today. $4.4 billion in cash. And in 12 months, they're going to pay another billion in change in US dollars, plus another $500 million in their own shares for this big deal that went down today. Now, numerous media sites are reporting that the Tolkien stuff itself was around $2 billion. Will we ever know really what it was? Maybe. But the interesting thing is that there is an unnamed other large property with this. So
Mhm.
whoever these people are, and we've done a lot of research as to who this company is, they have very deep funding. You know, they really do. And we know that Saudi Arabia has given them $1 billion We know that. It gets weird. There's a Canadian pension fund is heavily invested in this company. Purple, you
Hmm.
have an infographic, don't you, that shows, or actually I do. Let me bounce this out real quick. Let me show you this company, and let me ask you if this resembles any other company that you guys might know out there. It's bizarre. This is who bought your Tolkien. This is who bought Tolkien today. This is what they already own.
Yes, and this infographic is actually a couple of months out of date, so there is even more stuff that they have acquired since. But just going down this list, it is absolutely phenomenal for a group that really wasn't known up until about 2018.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, this went from utter disbelief at 4 o'clock in the morning while I was waiting for my coffee to brew to who the fuck are you and what are you going to do to my cult token really, really quick. So that's
Hmm.
why Purple and I looked into this. And again, Purple did a lot of research just like I did. So this is what it comes down to after significant research. And some of this is opinion, but it's also based on doing a lot of looking into the details. All of the major players in and around Tolkien knew this deal was happening. That includes Amazon, Warner Brothers, Disney, Paramount, everybody. You can't not know that a $6 billion deal in US dollars isn't happening. That's not how this works, okay? And
Hmm.
it was rumored that this deal just for Tolkien was $2 million plus, okay? The Tolkien estate still holds the rights for television adaptations. That was never part of this sale, according to multiple articles that we've researched. And Amazon still has their licensing agreement directly with the Tolkien estate. Go ahead, Purple Valkyrie.
Yes, and this is even more significant because up until now, this was owned by Middle Earth Enterprises, which was a division of Sol Zenter's company,
Mm-hmm.
and they have owned these rights since 1976. Now they've licensed the rights out to various people, so they could make Lord of the Rings, so Bakshi could do the films. We've had the TV and the animated, but all of these now are under the umbrella of this Embracer group.
Mm-hmm. When you talked about these guys yesterday, you talked about them acquiring IPs, and
Hmm.
they bought sometimes failing software companies, sometimes failing publishing companies, but they haven't seemed to have done anything with those properties. Is that accurate or no?
That would be probably the best way to put it because they are at heart a holding company. It's what they do. They acquire rights. So, for example, back in May of 2022, they finalized the deal with Square Enix for about $300 million. They bought Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, again, going
Mm-hmm.
back to the Canadian side. And
Mm-hmm.
as of yet, all of these IPs like Tomb Raider, Thief, Legacy of Kain, they haven't used, and there are 50 other in this deal that they acquired, and that is the big thing. They are acquiring these companies and these IPs. The same with Dark Horse Comics, Dark Horse Entertainment. They
Mm-hmm.
own them
Mm-hmm.
as well.
They're building a hell of a conglomerate for a company that really only came to fruition in 2014. We've seen this with other companies that went on to dominate industries, including Facebook, Twitter, other organizations that just pop up and have like a nice little cute backstory about how Facebook was invented in someone's college. Well, apparently, the way this gentleman, who is the, I guess, CIO or CEO of this organization, based on articles, is that he started reselling comics in Sweden
Hmm.
and somehow managed to build this great empire and have things like the government of Saudi Arabia investing $1 billion of their pension fund into this company. Now, this company really does focus on Asia, on the Chinese mobile gaming market, as well as gaming within the Middle East. Okay, yeah, let me take this one, Purple. Let's go ahead and pull this one up. This is important because it gives you a scope and scale as to just what we're talking about from a market share perspective. And let me drop you out. There we go.
Right. So this one it gives a breakdown of all of the gaming companies. So we've got Ubisoft, Microsoft, all of those. But look at this stake that Embracer Group has. It's bigger than any of the other ones. So it's bigger than Sony. It's bigger than Ubisoft. It's bigger than
Yeah.
EA.
And Tencent in
Hmm.
China. See where this is going? It's interesting. It's very interesting. This company came out of nowhere and is getting billions and billions of dollars handed to it by foreign governments and also having Canadian pension funds, as well as other large institutional investors investing in it, which eerily mirrors an organization called BlackRock, if you all are familiar with that. Let me get to this super chat real quick, Purple Valkyrie. This is from
Absolutely.
Hardlight. 5 British pounds. Hail to you. Says, yo, everyone, what have we to worry about? What we have to worry about now is future Rings of Power things. If these guys give over rights to the Silmarillion, well, we're going to get into that. Thank you very much for that, Silverlight. Yeah, Purple, you're not wrong. I need to bounce around because I don't have his accent. We're just kind of winging it today. But so let's go back to this. The Tolkien estate still owns the TV rights. That is something that is excluded from this deal. Okay. That was never for sale. Amazon still has a licensing agreement with the Tolkien estate for that. But even ignoring those TV rights, there's a boatload of value in being able to make movies off of random things within Tolkien's universe. Now, the licensing of Tolkien and the Tolkien estate and what was where and when and why and how and The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion has always been a mess. And Tolkien made many deals when digital rights wasn't even a thing yet, so it gets even more complicated. The estate and Middle-earth Enterprises has had to deal with more than one lawsuit about various things over the past couple of decades. Now, Middle-earth Enterprises is still a thing. It is still untouched, and just the financial backing and ownership of certain IPs has changed. Now, again, Middle-earth Enterprises has confirmed that the current deals and what was in place before this acquisition remain in place. Leadership of Middle-earth Enterprises itself seems to be unchanged as of now. But I wouldn't bet on it staying that way given this acquisition. Let's see. Middle-earth Enterprises still owns and maintains the Silmarillion. The histories of Middle-earth, the unfinished tales, Tolkien's letters, and all things like that. Middle-earth Enterprises, this is where things are going to get wonky and weird. So let me get back to the chat, you guys, because we don't have a lot of backup on this thing, and I'm doing the best that I can solo with
Yes.
Purple here. So
Yes, but what this deal does actually mean from going forward with Embracer Group is that they will pick up the rights to the motion picture, video game, board game, merchandising, theme parks, and stage productions relating to
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit franchises, as well as matching any rights in other Middle-earth related literary works authorised by the Tolkien estate or by HarperCollins, which have not yet been explored by anybody.
Absolutely. So Amazon, what they're doing with the Rings of Power, Warner Brothers, what happened with New Line Cinema, EA Games currently, Take-Two, all of those things who already have licenses to the property. Embracer does not get to cancel those deals. They remain in place, and they will remain in place based upon the pre-negotiated contracts that are there. Amazon still owns the Rings of Power series because they, again, directly negotiated with the Tolkien estate. The books are off limits as well. So let's say that again. The publishing of the books is off limits as well. This deal primarily relates from all of the research we've been doing just to making movies. So the movie situation, as you can expect, is a mess, right? Embracer is not a movie studio. They don't have the capacity to do this. And considering how they seem to be this holding company of buying and procuring either failing software companies or software companies with legacy products that they intend to remaster, I would not say that we're going to see them try and pull in Amazon and have a vanity project like the Rings of Power. But this is where it gets weird. If Embracer wants to make a one-off movie of Gandalf or Legolas or Gimli, or a prequel movie with Gandalf or Gimli or Legolas, how are they going to make a deal with the studio and develop it? And would Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema potentially move to block it? Or would Amazon with the Rings of Power? This is a weird rabbit hole. This is for people who are entertainment lawyers, but it is interesting conjecture. What it comes down to is if Amazon wanted to buy what Embracer bought, they could have. They could have bought it, but they chose not to. The question we need to start asking is, why didn't Amazon buy this? We heard for many months that Amazon might be making their own remake of The Hobbit, and then, of course, Peter Jackson's movies. This doesn't look like it's going to happen with them directly, but here's an interesting thing. Amazon could still go to Embracer to get those rights, but considering the amount of money that Amazon spent, 250 million for this many pages of the appendices, how much do you think Embracer's going to stick them for to try and make a whole book, or The Hobbit, or the trilogy? It would be billions and billions and billions more than what they could have paid for this. Why didn't Amazon buy it? We
Yes,
don't know the answer to that question.
and that is the fundamental question. If they knew, and I highly doubt that they did not know that this was going, as Salty just said, why did they not make a play for it when they could have had the chance? How did they get outbid, in essence, by Embracer Group? Where is this going? Could I bring up a little bit about the Gollum game as well? Because we've kind of delved
Go
into
ahead.
that as
Sarah.
well.
Go ahead.
So we had what was supposed to be released at the same time as Rings of Power. It was going to be a game all about Gollum. Now, it got critically panned by people because it looks terrible, but that's never really stopped them from releasing a game in the past. But a couple of weeks ago, we had a statement from the company, which I can read out for you. So it says, we are dedicated to meeting our community's expectations and uncovering the untold story of Gollum in a way that honours the vision of J.R.R. Tolkien. That being said, in order to deliver the best possible experience, we have decided to push back the release of The Lord of the Rings Gollum by a few months. We'll update you with an exact timing in the near future. Now, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that they knew that this deal was going through, hence the reason for them not releasing the game at the same time as Rings of Power.
Yeah. It is interesting. Again, take a look at the calendar. What are we, 2 weeks out from the release of the rescheduled? Do you guys pay attention to that? Like, the Rings of Power was set to drop on September 2nd, Tolkien, the anniversary of Tolkien's death. Amazon quietly moved it to September 1st. Now it's September 1st, and I believe 6 p.m. Pacific time, so California time. So in the UK, it would still be September 2nd. Of course, the day that Tolkien died in 1973. This is all so weird. And I can't tell if it's utter ineptitude or if the symbology behind all of this and sticking it to Tolkien or whatever it is, if it's just stuck in their craw and somebody's getting their jollies off of this. But yeah, let me get back to some more of these, the research that we've done. You don't want to hear me pontificate. So Embracer doesn't have a legacy of brand management. Tolkien is a brand. It is one thing to buy software companies and then get their intellectual properties and then allow that software company, maybe, you stick some of your people in there in leadership positions, but the programmers, the developers essentially stay there. Tolkien is a very different animal. And who knows what's going to happen? Is Embracer going to tank it and just start handing out licenses to turn Aragorn gay or make Gandalf a woman or have Gimli be trans or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know. There's really no limitation within this. That's the problem. And if that happens, maybe Amazon is kind of hoping that Embracer will tank it so then they can swoop up and take the destroyed Tolkien brand and do what they want with it. Again, that is mere supposition, but it is worth thinking about why Amazon wasn't in it. Again, Amazon paid $250 million for this many pages of the appendices. And presumably also with the War of the Rohirrim, that was factored into that as well. Unlike Disney and other legacy media companies who've made really horrible decisions, Amazon has always been in a position where they could outbid Embracer in a minute, and yet they didn't. To me, one of the only plausible explanations is that the time of paying exorbitant amounts of money for media content. You guys remember that movie by Rian Johnson, Knives Out? How much money did they pay for that? Or the Lord of the Rings TV rights when everybody wanted the next Game of Thrones. It was essentially a bidding war, and all these companies just kept jacking around until they paid the most ridiculous prices possible. Not to mention, look at the MGM purchase with Amazon. What happened with Fox? It looks like that time of these hyperinflated, free money, crazy acquisitions has come to an end. And instead, Wall Street and investors are actually looking at performance, at subscribers, not just the promise of subscribers. Interesting how that works. So, potential scenarios for this. What is Embracer going to do with this? I think it comes down to two scenarios. Number one, they're going to license this thing out to either multiple studios, Sony, Disney, Warner Brothers, Fox, whoever the hell it is, and make some kind of Frankenstein MCU like universe with the Tolkien characters. Just like the same mistake that Disney made with Star Wars. Now, I can't imagine anybody wanting some kind of half-assed She-Hulk, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Toriel, like I just the harf, the proud feet, like I can't imagine people wanting shows that just piss all over Tolkien like this. I genuinely can't. But that's something they could do. If Embracer's going to do that, they're going to need to find their own Kevin Feige. Now, I know that's kind of a dirty word, right? Considering Marvel Phase 4 and what we know is going to happen with Marvel Phase 5. But if they're going to do that, they're going to need somebody up front that can wrangle all of these studios and try and get them in control. Again, this is one of the scenarios that can unfold. I'm not going to go too much farther down that road. But Purple, you brought up something really interesting about what we're seeing with Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And Warner Brothers undoubtedly was aware that this deal was going to go forward. After all, they did the Jackson films. What were they doing recently? Do you remember? They were looking for their own somebody?
They were indeed, yeah. So when we had the Warner Discovery merger go through, what they wanted was pretty much similar to what Disney did. They wanted a head man, someone to oversee the entire company, and then to have like a board beneath this person. It seems to be a what's the best word to put it? A branding, I guess, that seems to work for people. They want somebody at the head and then someone who can kind of pass down through the ranks to people who will be in charge of gaming, who will be in charge of movies, TV, whatever, and spread it out that way. But yes, and it seems to be Embracer is doing the exact same thing. They want somebody at the head to be a figurehead, I guess would be the best analogy.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our man who's up at 2:00 in the morning, breaking stories. Welcome, Zach.
Way too late.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, dude. I know.
Sorry I'm late,
Thanks.
guys. I had a previous commitment, so no way around it.
No, that's all right. No, I don't know if you've been following the live stream. We're talking about all the research Purple and I did. Again, hail to you for breaking this story. Ever since then, I and Purple have been trying to find actual facts and not just pulling things out of thin air and burning YouTube time, making stuff up. So I'm really glad you're here. Have you learned anything else? Or I guess, what's your opinion on this deal? I remember at 2:00 in the morning, you were saying, this doesn't feel right. Do you still feel that way? Or have you seen anything that says, oh, everything's going to be sunshiny and roses and great?
Kimo, well, my sense of things is going to be that they're going to use this to make video games, which is what they're, and board games possibly, and comics as well, because they own Dark Horse, all that stuff. I think, and I think they'll probably license the films to someone else.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I feel like.
Embracer already owns a company which does the board games and the cards for Tolkien already. So there is that link. Now, I haven't played any of those games, and I don't know what they're like, if they're any good or not. In chat, guys, tell me what you're thinking. Let me continue just about the two potential scenarios. So we talked about, could Embracer license this out, just do it as a major cash grab, make some kind of Frankenstein MCU-like hellhole, nonsensical universe? They absolutely could. Create standalone movies for each character of the Fellowship, divide it up into phases, and then somehow have it go to their own remake of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. They could do that. But there's a second option. The second option is they don't do solo spin-off movies. Instead, they focus on interactive stuff and then license it out to other film companies in huge chunks, meaning billions of dollars back pretty darn quick, hands off, and then just get residuals from a film company. And the question is, would Warner Brothers even play this game? Would Sony play this game? Would Disney play this game? You just basically farm it out, send it off in chunks and get billions of dollars back. That to me seems like it's entirely possible that maybe they only will focus on games. Maybe they won't screw around in the movie universe. Maybe they have a soul, but I don't believe that. I think they're just going to mutilate whatever they can to extract all the value, just like Disney did with Star Wars. Am I being unfair? Do you guys think I'm being too negative, Purple Valkyrie and Zax?
No, I think that's probably the most likely scenario, that they will license these off to the highest bidder. After all, they have a reputation for being aggressive when it comes to acquiring these IPs, and they're not acquiring them just to have them sit around in a portfolio. These are very lucrative things that they've bought up, not just with the gaming, but Tolkien is a huge untapped potential. People love it, and the one thing that we've seen from the build up to Rings of Power is how passionate people are about Tolkien's world and his work.
Yeah, Purple, you sent me a link. Is that an old one, or did you want me to take it?
The
one
that's an old one. That's an old one.
Okay. Let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and bounce over here to this article so you guys have something to look at other than my ugly face. Yeah, there we go. This, of course, is from the Hollywood Reporter. I think a lot of people are probably just going to read this thing word for word, and that's fine. But yeah, so Embracer, regardless of what they do with it, whether it's games, whether it's trying to make some half-assed movies themselves, whether it's just whoever the highest bidder is gets to buy whatever character they want, which is a possibility. Let's be honest about it. We could get the Arwen movie. We could get the Gladriel movie. I mean, they can do anything they want now, as long as it's within the context of the IP that they have. But this is an opportunity to delve deeper into the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit lore through games, films, games, not books. Again, those are still retained by Middle Earth Enterprises. I mentioned it and hinted at it earlier in the show. Warner Brothers and Amazon own any and all portrayals of the characters and the style in which it was filmed. Warner Brothers owns the likeness and rendition of Aragorn, of Arwen, of Gladriel, of that look, of the armor. All of the things that were used in that film belong to Warner Brothers. Conversely, whatever nonsense Amazon did within the Rings of Power, the look of those characters, the style of things belongs to Amazon, including that ridiculous 18-foot sword that not Gladriel, is walking around in Payne McKay's universe. What does this mean? That means if you're going to create a theme park of Tolkien, of The Hobbit, of The Lord of the Rings, you would have to pay residuals to Warner Brothers or buy that look or that view from Amazon to have it in the theme parks. You couldn't have somebody who looked like Legolas or Gimli in their portrayal, or looking like the Rohirrim from the Peter Jackson movies, using the Weta Workshop stuff, unless you paid them for that right to be able to do that. You see how this gets really strange?
Or conversely, you would have to create something entirely different, an entirely different look to what has gone before, and hope that people like what you've made. It's also worth noting that they managed to get in and get this acquisition before Tolkien and his world became public property. It came into the public domain. I believe it should go into it in 2042. So they've got 20 years to play with this stuff before.
Let me talk to Rick Berg. We just ran the USD to Swedish krona conversion. So I'm not sure where you're going with this. And yes, we do know the company is all over. It's in Europe as well. That's fine. I'm saying that their business growth was primarily in the Middle East and Asia, and it is a significant part of why their revenue has gone up so dramatically, and also why the investment of Saudi Arabia and the Saudi Arabian Pension Fund is within this. I think it's undeniable that mobile gaming in Asia and in the Middle East is a hot market. Yes, this company has 12,000 employees. It has multiple locations around the world. We're not talking shit about anybody. What we're doing is we're reviewing a deal, and I'm trying to provide a context based upon my understanding. So I don't know if I've offended you or whatever it is, but thanks for dropping in. Sorry guys, I'm just having one of these days where I'm kind of done with things. And I just am. And but yeah, Embracer, what they do with it, I don't know. But it was a deal done in the middle of the night involving billions of dollars to acquire Lord of the Rings, multiple other software companies, plus another entity, which they won't even tell us what it is. I've never heard of a deal like that. Why would they tell us what the entity was? But this is all fascinating, you guys. I don't know. I've got a lot more. Go ahead, Zax.
You might know this by now, Salty, because I haven't figured it out yet. But did they buy the rights, or did they buy the Saul Zaentz company completely? Like, did they buy them out?
It's complicated because of the licensing rights within that company are complicated. And I don't mean to be evasive. We're
No, I
working
know.
off of as many articles as we can in trying to cross references. This is something I don't want to get wrong. And if there's an
Yeah.
error in what we're presenting, we will correct it, but it is not intentional. We spent hours this morning trying to find information on this company and what they do. We can find out the numbers of the resources they have. We can find out that they have offices in Europe, as someone correctly said. Not really focused on that. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of other channels talk about how many people they have and how many offices and what video game IPs they have. You can find that. Purple was covering it yesterday. But what we're talking about is just this deal. So go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
And we do know that earlier on in the year, the Saul Zaentz company floated the sale of their rights for about $2 billion. So we can kind of guess or estimate what the Embracer group probably paid for this, because that's what the ballpark figure was. Should it come up for sale?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what's going on in chat. You guys want to run Swedish krona against US dollars and then get back to me in a little bit? So, yeah, here we go. What do you got there, Purple?
So this is just to back up what you were saying earlier. So you were talking about deals that they got. So it also says down the bottom here, Saudi Arabia recently bought a 1 billion stake in Embracer and own about 8% of the company's shares.
Yeah. Where do we go with this? Should we have hope, you guys? I'm getting all turned around with what's going on in chat, and I've got way too many windows open right now and other things. Go ahead.
What I'm worried about is it's overall concerning that I've never heard of this company and they're this big and they bought out the Koch brothers in some aspects. Like, where'd these guys come from?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. $1 billion investment from Saudi Arabia, which they had to then defend. I mean, I'm not judging them. Just interesting. A lot of virtue signaling groups and entities within Hollywood talking about women's rights. I guess that only stops at the borders of the United States. Don't worry about what's going on over there. But hey, I guess that just makes me a bigot or something, right? We've got a $5 super chat from Daniel. It says Games Workshop Warhammer used to make a Lord of the Rings tabletop deal with Warner 10 years ago. Weta announced a Lord of the Rings video game 3 days ago. It's weird, isn't it? Like, where does this all go? Those licenses and those contracts are still in place right now. This is where some of that complexity is. And again, I am not an entertainment lawyer, nor am I a financial analyst. We've looked a lot at the value of this company, at the stock, at what they hold, at all the properties that they have. And the list is quite long, and Purple Valkyrie was going through it. They don't appear to be doing a lot of things with it, though. They just appear to be grabbing it. Is that, again, Purple Valkyrie, is that an unfair characterization of the situation? And thank you, Daniel.
No, because as we stated at the beginning, at their heart, they are a holding group. It's what they do. They acquire licenses, they acquire rights, and they hold on to them. They've done it for the past probably 4 years. And as you saw with the graphics that we pulled up, they're just getting bigger and bigger stakes, primarily in the gaming industry, but now they are branching out. So whilst they will probably focus on the gaming for Lord of the Rings at the moment, as you said, anybody that wants these licensings can now go to them. And if they wanted to do a solo Gandalf film, if they wanted to do a solo Aragorn film for the right price, I would imagine that wouldn't be an issue.
Again, this is an outdated list of all of the software companies that they hold. We saw them in relative term market share compared to Sony, compared to Microsoft, and all those things. They're a significant player, and they're much more significant than Tencent is. And especially, and why I brought it up, was their market share in the Middle East as well as their market share in China, because that's where mobile gaming is hot. It's interesting. It's just very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get to the super chat from Mr. Trickletrunk. You don't spend this kind of money to lose money. I don't think their goal is to go down the Amazon route. Think there's hope now in gaming at least.
I agree with that.
Mhm.
There's so many missed opportunities with games, and the shadow games were
Oh,
good.
yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
there could be so much, and I think the nice part about licensing individually is that it's not like Amazon's doing now, where they've bought this, they're going to do whatever they want with it, and they don't care if it's successful or not. If you're going to go and approach Embracer to access rights to something, you're going to try to make that thing good. I would think you want to make money with that. Most other companies can't just be like Bezos and throw money away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's hope.
What am I going to? Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to try and figure out which article to pull up, you guys. I have too many windows open. Would you guys vamp for me a second? Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what it is, what property they bought that we don't know yet. Do you know what I mean? It's just weird to say we're going to drop this much money and then give this much money, and we're not going to tell you until later. It's just
It is.
it's weird to me.
It is, and this story only dropped a few hours ago. There is going to be a lot more coming out in the upcoming days. Whether or not they will disclose what the final acquisition was out of the 6, I don't know. I hope they will, because I think it's going to be another big one. And until then, people can just speculate what it is. But for us as Tolkien fans, it is, where is the Lord of the Rings going? That's what we want, and all we want fundamentally is for the lore to be respected. We've seen it hasn't been with what Amazon have done. But can this acquisition now give us hope?
Yeah, and I think what we're going to see is probably some confusion in the media. And I think maybe this time it will be unintentional. I think there are some mixed messages that are going around depending on where you get your source of information and depending on how they look at this. Once Embracer tells us what they're going to do, we'll know. But really, there was the key things that we talked about. The books, they're not having anything to do with the books. Nothing to do with the television rights. They don't have rights to the television. That still stays with Amazon for the time being. They do have the movie rights. They do have The Hobbit. They do have the Lord of the Rings trilogy. From what we have found in cross-reference to multiple sources is they do not have access to the Silmarillion, the Unfinished Tales, Tolkien's letters themselves, or anything along those lines. And I would also say anything Christopher Tolkien has touched. Again, if we get that wrong, it is an honest error based upon hours of research that we did to come into this. So that to me means we're not going to get a Baron and Luthien show. Go ahead.
You're right with that. I was looking into it previously, and I was looking into the Tolkien estate before any of this happened, and the estate themselves still own the Silmarillion, from what I read. So it wouldn't be part of this package.
It's weird, right? It's weird. And of course, we've got the Amazon Rings of Power show coming out, which is setting up a style and a whole new set of characterizations for Galadriel, for Elrond. It's weird. Like, where do you go from this? Because even if you put this thing together, what Amazon is doing would still be the prequel that would drive and color whatever you do in buying this property. You know what I mean? I mean, I the only reason I'm going to see this show is because I need to review it for my channel. I have no interest, and if I didn't have to, I would not watch it. Just like I don't have Disney, just like I don't have Netflix or Hulu or any of that other stuff. You know, does that make me a virtuous person? No, but what it means is I can control that. You know, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, good. I just had a YouTube video updating the terms of service. That's wonderful. I bet you it's just joy and love. Joy and love, guys. That's all YouTube does. Yeah. So again, the Zans Company has had the rights since 1976. In the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning, our time, we find out that some company most of us have never heard of drops a shitload of money to buy probably the most beloved IP, Tolkien works, asterisk, 2 weeks before Amazon's $1 billion 5-season Rings of Power show comes out. Let's wrap this one up with this. Do we think, and I'll start with you, Zax, we're going to see 5 seasons of this Rings of Power show after this?
Not now, and I think the way they sold these rights tells me that the Zans Company would agree with that.
What do you
you
think,
don't
Purple
sell
Valkyrie?
and
Oh,
appreciate like
sorry, go ahead.
if you believe in this show and you think it could be at least half decent, it would only send the value up of what you own. So they must know this is going to be garbage, and without anywhere to go with it. So unless Amazon licenses the rights to the actual trilogy themselves, there's no reason to
Mhm.
go 5 seasons. I don't see why.
And that's the question. What do you do now? I mean, did somebody just rip off Amazon, or does Amazon really just get googly eyes and start throwing wads of money in the air, not really understanding that what this could happen? Again, I don't understand why Amazon didn't buy this. I mean, we've proposed a couple of theories, plausible ones, as to why. Of course, they still have the deal that appears to be still ongoing with MGM, but they've got so much money. Why wouldn't they buy it? I don't
Mhm.
know. Purple Valkyrie, what do you think? Are we going to get 5 seasons of the Rings of Power or not?
Up until today, I thought that yes, they would have stuck to their guns and continued no matter what. But I think Embracer Group have been keenly aware of the blowback that Amazon have been getting for the past 9 months or so, ever since it really started kicking into gear and we got information about the show and the fans reacted the way that they did. Um, I do not think that we're going to get the 5 seasons.
Interesting. Look, you guys in chat, what do you think? Let me get to the one and only Mr. Tickletrunk for 5 Canadian. Thank you, sir. Says Embracer is building a new empire. They can't go ideological or they stop. Keep this in mind. Expect corporate greed to start returning in media with a thumbs up. I would love that world. I would love that world. I would love the
Yeah.
world of ridiculous, hyper masculine babes with their boobs out, two genders, action hero popcorn flicks. That's what I want. I don't want intersectional feminism in my Middle Earth or in my Robert Jordan. I'd like to think that's what's going to happen. All
Well,
I know is I'm not seeing it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Go ahead, Kyle.
I feel like a company we've never heard of is not going to care about virtue signaling. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just by what they've acquired and how fast they've acquired these companies, I would be inclined that they're looking for a profit. Yeah, they're not holding on to these things for no reason. And all of these
Yeah.
that have been bought have potential for profit for them.
Where does that leave? Where do we think that leaves the Rings of Power? And then we'll wrap up because I only wanted to go 45 minutes or an hour today, guys. Where does that leave the legitimacy of what Amazon has done and all of the virtue signaling by Sophie Nomvetti and the guy who plays a Rondir and the other woman who's playing another made-up character, Bronwyn, who's taking a stand for Iranian women's rights while lecturing us wearing a $10,000 outfit at San Diego Comic-Con and not being in Iran, actually working for women's rights. Where does that leave this show, do you think? Do you think this was a big FU? Do you think in some way this was personal? Do you think that, I mean, because I wonder were there egos involved in this where somebody wanted to stick it to Bezos or something? Or is that just me kind of like being like on the schoolyard going, fight, 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 you know?
Yeah, I think it was more of a vanity project from Bezos because he always said he was a massive fan of Lord of the Rings and he wanted, from the start, when we talked about it in 2017, he wanted a version of Game of Thrones. And they specifically said that. And I think that is the model that they had in mind going forward throughout all of this. Regardless that it didn't fit with Tolkien or his world or his characters, they still
Mhm.
ploughed ahead. And this is where we've got now. We're a couple of weeks away from the first episode dropping, and the fans are furious with what's been said. We are sick of being called names. We are sick of being told
Yeah.
that we're wrong, that we're sexist, that we're misogynist, that we're racist for not liking what they are trying to force on us.
And it's the same thing they've been trying to force on us since 2016, 2015. That video that I did the other day has taken off and I didn't expect it. Thank you all for watching it. But hail to Latino Slant, who's in the chat. Great to see you, brother. And yeah, billionaire fight. I don't know. I think a lot more clarity is going to come out. I think the media, again, is probably confused on a lot of things. I really do. And what they're telling you, I think people are making very broad statements and some of them contradict each other, even from sites like Variety, The Hollywood Reporter. We actually went to go look at stock and investment sites to try and find out Who's on the board of directors? Who's actually invested in this? Did the Saudi Arabia really give this company $1 billion? And the answer to all those things is yes. You know, it's just that you got to dig to find out who these people are. And it's very fascinating because, again, we're looking at complete and total dominance in grabbing every property they can to have the ability to lease or license that out so that no one would actually own it, just like BlackRock with houses in the United States and I'm sure around the world. Go ahead, Purple Valkyrie.
I was just going to say, I do actually have a quote, if you'd like to pull up the link from the founder and CEO of Embracer Group about this acquisition.
Is this it? Okay.
That's it. Yep. Yeah.
All right. I'll drop you out, chat. Go ahead.
Okay. So he says, I am truly excited to have The Lord of the Rings and it's one of the world's most epic fantasy franchises join the Embracer family, opening up a transmedia opportunities, including synergies across our global group. I am thrilled to see what lies in the future for this IP, with free mode, Asmodee as a start within the group. Going forward, we also look forward to collaborating with both existing and new external licensees as our increasingly stronger portfolio. And this is from Lars Wingford, founder and group CEO.
Cheddar, licensing cheddar. Will they care about what is done with Tolkien's legacy with the property? That's what I'm wondering about. And what is the veto? Go ahead.
My guess would be yes to that, Salty, because they seem to care about money, and you don't want to let someone else devalue your product. You pull the license if that happens. That's my guess.
I hope so. I really hope so, dude.
But the one thing that we did also talk about in the green room before we went live was the importance of what's gone before to collect physical media. And I think it bears repeating now. If you love what has gone before, if you love the films, if you love the books, if you love anything to do with Tolkien, games, collect them whilst you can.
Now. Yeah, I was actually looking online because I collect the 12-inch, the 1/6 scale Lord of the Rings action figures. I guess you could call them that. But they go back to the Fellowship and the Two Towers, and they look kind of goofy because they're the cloth. They have cloth, and like it looks a little dated, but I think they're charming, and I collect them. And ever since Amazon The Rings of Power show has come out, the prices on everything legacy. Lord of the Rings, actually True Tolkien, Peter Jackson's universe, any toys like that has jumped and jumped and jumped and jumped. And we're almost to the point where there were 1/6 scale figures that I got 2 months ago. Those same ones are now double the price in the secondary market on places like eBay. And don't even go to Amazon. Someone's going to charge you like $500 for a Frodo that you could probably get for $40 on eBay. But if you love these things, Purple Valkyrie's right. We keep saying buy physical media, buy physical media. Buy an extra copy of that Peter Jackson trilogy you love. Just we don't know what this all means. We don't know where this is all going. We don't know how this is all going to play out, but get the things that you love and keep them close. Buy them as Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents or birthday presents for people in your family, for people that you care about. Keep getting undiluted things that we love in our fandom before all of this corporate interference, and certainly before the poisoning, in my opinion, of what Amazon Studios is going to do in creating a prequel, which will forever taint, if you let it, what not just Peter Jackson did, but also Rankin and Bass with the animated Hobbit. It's not going to be like when I was a kid or other people were kids and I saw the Hobbit animated movie in 77, or let's say you were growing up in the 90s and you got to go see Peter Jackson in the movie theater and be blown away by Tolkien's world. What if you're a kid and the first thing you see is Warrior Gladriel and Princess Diesel lecturing you?
And we know that that's what Amazon wants because that's what they've told us they want. They want to be up on the shelf and right there next to the greats. But what they haven't done is prove that they are responsible with the IP that they've taken on.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly hitting those ESG scores. But by all means, if you are interested in what I would consider to be legitimate Lord of the Rings, things related to Peter Jackson, things related to the original Rankin Bass stuff, get it. Please get it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have dumped a bunch of money on these action figures when I was in Dallas, even though I spent way too much money. You can't even find some of these things, and it's ridiculous. Some people want $1,000 for an Arwen 12-inch figure because she's wearing a white dress. It's like, what are you guys like? Are you high? Anyway, that's a Corey problem, not a YouTube problem. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Zax? What do you think? Is there anything from Lord of the Rings that you like to collect that you've seen any price increases on, or what's your guidance on this in physical media?
You know what? I'll probably order the 4K Blu-rays now because I don't have that. Otherwise, I don't really collect much else in terms of like things like the action figures and all that. But aren't you glad somebody talked you into buying that stuff in Dallas?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I'm off camera because I want to get my toys. Look at my toys. I gotta look at this stuff. You cannot beat this, guys. I can't even see if I'm glimmering, but look at this. Yes, is it
awesome.
kind of cheesy? Is it kind of cheesy? Yeah, a little bit, but I love it. And I have Frodo and Arwen and
Gandalf.
yeah, I really and again now I have Gandalf too, thanks to somebody in the UK. And but yeah, I need to get Eowyn and I need to get Gimli, and it's like, it's called being a nerd.
Yes,
but,
and the chat brought it up as well. If you don't have a great copy of these books, please go out and find a beautiful copy. Probably not the Amazon covers ones, but there are so many out there that you can find just to have on your shelf. Get the Hobbit, get the Lord of the Rings trilogy, get the Silmarillion, get the extended editions, get the maps, get the artwork, get the graphic novel.
And
yes,
whatever happens on September 1st here in the United States, or September 2nd, regrettably, the date of Tolkien's death in 1973, with the release of the first 2 episodes of Amazon's The Rings of Power, which we now know will come out at 9 p.m. East Coast United States time and 6 p.m. West Coast time.
2 a.m. for us in the UK.
Was that an accident?
Probably not.
Or was that the biggest FU ever?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, regardless of what happens, whatever that show does, separate it, put it in a box, compartmentalize it. Don't let it change your love of Tolkien. Please don't let it change your perspective on Tolkien. And if you can, remember what it's all about, which is fandom and being a dork like me and wanting to get these ridiculous action figures and have them up and have crazy action figures behind me. And that's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's hard not to get lost in the anger and the sadness and the frustration, but they can't take these things away from us. Go ahead, Purple.
No, they can't. Absolutely not. And I think you summed it up in the best possible way. Tolkien will always be there for the people that love it. We are going through what is pretty much all franchises and all IPs have gone through. If you go through Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, Wheel of Time, we have all gone through this, and this is just the next thing, the next stage. But it's still there for us. It's still there. It's not going to change.
Yeah, and those of you who were Sandman fans like Gray now knows, regrettably, what it was like for those of us who were Robert Jordan fans. All right, we're going to get out of here just under an hour because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to linger here just kind of screwing around. I really appreciate everyone who's been in chat. Thank you so much for the super chats. I don't think I've missed anybody. Actually, I did. There we go. Thank you I have a Zax. It's so much nicer. I'm so much more organized when I have a Zax. Thank you. I'll be returning the favor tonight, dude. For $2 Canadian says corporate greed. Thumbs up. Right now, the enemy of my enemy, and I'll finish it, is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
Yeah, true.
Yes, if it takes a gigantic faceless corporation to bring back the glory of Tolkien, then I'll take it. I just don't want it to be cut up and sold to the highest bidder to make subpar content.
Hardlight, you and I are on the same page. I definitely need to hear more as I'm deep in the anger of this. So am I. And I sometimes am letting it come out. And I apologize for that. I'm only human. I'm not a production company. I'm a dude in his office with action figures. And I try to make you guys good quality content and bring you things that are well researched and not just pull out of my ass. And I'm lucky enough to get to work with Purple Valkyrie, Zax, Maxfield Von Priestley, Amanda Manethrin, Wakazashi Tea House, Nerdporial Lifeform, Prophet of the Dragon, good group of people. We all take a lot of pride in what we do, and we're not going to steer you wrong intentionally. So, Hard Light, it's been a rough 6 years. I hope this is the sign, including what Zaslav is doing, that maybe something's starting to break. But I need it proved to me before I start popping champagne corks. You know what I mean?
Please,
Mhm.
God.
Yes.
I
And as we
know.
said,
Please.
there's going to be a lot more come out in the next few days. I think this definitely bears watching. And if
Oh,
it
yeah.
means we've got to do another stream on this to update you guys,
Yeah.
we'd be more than happy to, because I think this is very,
Yeah.
very important.
And I will correct any numbers or any assertions that I put forward if I said something incorrectly. Again, not pulled out of my ass. Again, Purple Valkyrie and I were both doing research on this so that when we went live, we actually had something important, something relatable and reliable and traceable back to his source material. So we hope you guys have enjoyed the show. And yeah, dude, Daniel, he has a leather-bound collector's edition version of the ring of Lord of the
Nice.
Rings. It has a huge fold-out map within it, right? Don't even get me started. All those books back there are like John Howe art, Alan Lee art, the illustrated Encyclopedia of Tolkien, and then of course on the top shelf it's all Wheel of Time and Robert Jordan stuff. But yeah, it's fun being a nerd. It really is. Smile for
Here
a
it is.
while. I know.
Yeah,
These
it
assholes need to, like, screw these assholes, man. They want to take it away from me. Smile for a while says, thanks for all the research and keeping us up to date. Always appreciate it. I'll have to go back and listen to the first 20 minutes when this is over. You and I both. Because when I'm live, I have no idea what I've really said until it's over. And I go watch it because you're trying to interact and do all this other stuff. And it's funny. Yeah. And you get stream brain. I know all about Stream Brain. Thank you so much for Nathan, Amanda Manethrin, for Lyle Hammock for modding today. Zax, tell everybody about the beautiful, amazing thing that's going to happen tonight at around 8:15.
Yeah, I am going to be running the Ultimate Arnold tournament, and so it's a single elimination 16 bracket tournament with some of the best of Arnold Schwarzenegger's characters, Arnold himself, and some bonus Arnolds like Arnold from Different Strokes. And it's going to be one-on-one combat. The chat decides who moves forward. So we need you to show up tonight. So we need you to vote so we can hopefully have a winner this evening. And our panel is going to be there to debate, discuss, and try to push their own agenda when it comes to Arnold's.
May the best Arnold win.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm trying to do my Arnold. You know that noise he makes.
May
That's
the
what it
best
sounds
Arnold
like when
win.
he's having sex. Like
No, but now I do.
Just
That's
ask his maid.
how my brain works. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get out of here, and I want to thank everybody for being here today. Thanks so much for showing up. We had about 40 people consistently in the chat. It meant a lot that you guys were here. Thank you for your comments. Even if we didn't agree on things, I appreciate the dialogue. And again, if we've made mistakes, they were made in good faith. We will correct them, and I will own them. I really want to thank Purple Valkyrie, who out of the gate this morning was like, let's research, let's do something different. So thank you, Purple.
Oh,
You are
thank you.
the main reason this show happened today. You are absolutely fantastic. Where can people find you? What happens next?
Yeah, so I will be back. I probably won't be back until Monday because I am at the Discworld convention. So there might be a few short videos coming. But if Salty and Zax are up for it, I would love in the next couple of days to do a follow up on this story. And if there's any more information forthcoming, or if they unlist the final acquisition that they haven't named yet, I'd love to talk about it.
I wonder what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's James Bond.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a theory. I would never say it was anything more than that. But
Yep, we have the big MGM sale. Yeah.
Could be
interesting stuff. And Zax did drop a link to the show tonight. Love to see you there. I'm going to be doing what Zax does for me, which is helping run the chat and let him focus on his show, because that's how we roll around here. We help one another out. Thanks again, everybody, for being in chat. I'm going to drop you guys out. Please go ahead and subscribe to Zax7 and Purple Valkyrie if you are not already subscribed. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. And if you are on Twitter and social media and you have a question or you want to challenge me on something or bring up some new information, please reach out to myself, Purple Valkyrie. We'd love to see context and see what other source material you have. You guys are fantastic. Zax, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, chat.
Yes.
Thanks,
And
Purple, for all your hard work, research.
Thanks for breaking it this morning. Appreciate it.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
madman.
no problem.
You insomniac madman. All right, you guys. Again, I have a new outro. This features all of my new channel members. I didn't realize I had like 60 and I felt bad. But anyway, here you are. Please enjoy the deepfakes and all of your names. Have a great chill Thursday, everybody. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.